Greetings, family. Welcome to Harrell Kagler Presents. I am Dr. Jamil Harrell Sims, CEO of Harrell Kagler Interventions Incorporated, professor of communication studies, African American family studies, and cultural psychology. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And today on our maiden voyage, we have a dynamic panel of experts, professionals from our community. That's right. This is about our community. And so what I want to begin with is something that's very near and dear to everyone's heart right now. We are in COVID, which I call the Rona. The issue with that, among others, is many of our children are not able to attend school. Because they cannot attend school, we're homeschooling. We were not ready for this. Teachers were not ready for this. So today, I have on my expert panel some great people that I want to introduce you to. First, I want to introduce you to Mr. Jarvis Sams, professor of marriage and family therapy. He's a marriage and family therapist, attended FAMU and the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Welcome, Jarvis.
Thank you.
And then I have Sarar, my Sarar of Delta Sigma Theta, Adrienne Clay. She's a graduate of Cal Poly Pomona and the University of Laverne. She has 38 years of teaching experience where she's taught in public, private, and homeschool settings. She's currently an education specialist for the Pomona Unified School District, where she also serves on the Positive Behavior Interventions and Support team. Welcome, Adrienne Clay.
Thank you, Sora. Glad to be here.
And I have a young lady after my own heart, Topaz Good, a graduate of National University, a current doctoral student working on her PsyD at Walden University, a parent of an online student and an online student herself. And she's also studying to be a marriage and family therapist. Actually, she is, and a fitness enthusiast. And she's a member of Iota Phi Lambda business sorority that provides scholarships to youth in the community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. My first question would be to Jarvis Sams. Jarvis has been in the mental health profession for many years, and he's very well loved and sought out. My question to you is, when we were having our last conversation, what has been your experience since COVID hit with parents and students?
Oh, with parents and students, it's been really interesting. At the time, back in March, we finally quarantined, or were about to quarantine, and I was dealing with a few students that were at LAUS Unified School District, Los Angeles Unified School District, just so everybody will know. They weren't prepared. The school wasn't prepared. The parents weren't prepared. And obviously the children weren't prepared. It came all of a sudden. And as a behavior interventionist, what that means is work with kids that have disabilities that are more than likely on the spectrum with autism. My kid was autistic, or my kids were autistic in different levels. Now you have to figure out how to keep them engaged at home. For a typical kid, a kid that does not have a disability of any shape and form, it's already difficult, but you can only imagine. And then the parents of this kid that has autism were thrown for a loop, because now they are being thrust into being the teachers or teacher assistants. And numerous things. I was working in the community, so there were some people that did not have the appropriate internet in order to actually do all the things that were necessary. So that just led to so many different stressors. And so that was at the beginning. Things started to get better towards the end, but LAU Unified decided to go to end the term fairly quickly. So it was supposed to end, I believe, like late May, early June. And they were like, okay, about like early May, they were like, yeah, we're done. Like we're gonna let the kids, we're going to let the kids go because they knew they had to revamp and they had to figure this thing out and come back and do things over. And that was typical of a lot of the unified school districts throughout the Southern California area. They were just like, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to do this and then come back anew in the fall. And then, Dr. Sims, I'm from Florida. So I also have friends in Florida who are parents who were dealing with the same thing in Miami and Broward County and Miami-Dade, Broward County. Same things were happening. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to handle their kids or their grandkids. It was just a number of things. So as a therapist, one of the things that I try to do for my parents and the kids were provide them with a unique level of a plan, right? Like how are you going to do this on a day in and day out basis? How to allow the kid to actually have something similar to school. One of the things that I did with one child in particular was who was having trouble. The parents would just put the TV on because they were showing videos at the time and expecting him to comprehend. But he was not even paying attention to the videos. They would go in there 30 minutes later and he would be under the covers, like literally covered, which is typical for a kid with autism, their, sensory things. And so I said, what you have to do is you have to set them up in the kitchen where you can see them, in the dining room area where you can see him, put him there. And you literally, you're not going to hover over him, but you have to monitor what he's doing. Is he watching the computer screen or is he tinkering? And then that started to help. Those little adjustments were there. A couple of other things. One of my other parents asked me, what do you think? Did I think it was a good idea to set up a homeschool environment? And so they literally got like a chalkboard, a whiteboard, and a lot of different things. And what happened for that kid is it became like school. It was like he knew when he stepped into that particular little square, he was at school. And he was able to focus. So little behavioral interventions like that is what parents should think about, and I hope they have as a takeaway. It's like a little adjustment. But as a parent, I can imagine now you're working from home, if you're still working from home, and now you have to also manage your kid. There are a number of things. So I can only imagine the stressors that are there for the parents. But oftentimes we don't focus on that. When you're a behavior interventionist, you only focus on the child. And one of the things I think we should do is worry about the actual parent as well, because there's so much more going on there with the mom and the dad or grandmother and grandma or whoever's taking care of the kid, the caregiver.
Okay. Well, now you talked about parents. Now I would like to ask Topaz a question because she is a parent. And you are a working parent, full-time doctoral student, and you still have children at home who are being homeschooled online. How is that working for you?
Well, first, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so there are a few things we had to do in the beginning. There's several different types of online schools. So there's some that are self-paced, some that actually include Zoom sessions, and some that are kind of a hybrid. They'll assign work, but then there's also Zoom sessions. So I had to search around to find one that fit my children the best.
Mm.
And then after I figured that out, because I know one of my children are a little more self-starting and motivated than the other.
Okay.
So it was searching for the right program first. Then getting them on there, I had to go to a family meeting of, hey, I'm at work, we're all in this together. I need people to check in every now and then. I check in myself by text because I leave to go to work. And I have them at times slide the phone to where, they can't see it necessarily in a Zoom session, but I'll quietly FaceTime every now and then just to check and make sure they're sitting where they're supposed to be. Because I know at times they'll sneak off and lay down or exactly what Jarvis was saying and do random things. And it's like, aren't you supposed to be in class? Why do I see this in the background? So I have to do things like that and have a moment to take quiet time to myself to refocus and keep patience, because patience can be lost real easy through frustration of trying to navigate a lot of these programs for the parent and for the child. I even have everybody's schedules taped on the wall in my room, so everyone knows what everyone's supposed to be doing, where they're at, where I'm at, and we monitor each other that way. So I have like several different things everywhere. So if there's any questions and you can't answer it from everything that was posted, text me. It might be frustrating at the time, but it's that commitment for myself to make sure that they're successful, to make sure I'm successful. It can get frustrating, it can, but I take a step back, take that 5 minutes to breathe, to recenter myself, and then say, okay, what's the problem? Let's figure this out. Let's slowly go through it.
You froze.
Oh, we have a
Take a little
little.
note. So next time we figure that out, we wrote that on that paper. Let's go look at it.
Okay. Okay. Now, so we have a therapist side of what's going on, and then we have a parent, you know, and you're also a therapist. But now I'm on the other spectrum because I'm a professor. So I want to talk to Adrian about how is this affecting, I know what I'm going through with the college students. So how is this affecting the teachers?
Well, it is indeed affecting the teachers. It's not only affecting the teachers, it is affecting our students, and it's just affecting, and our parents. It's affecting everyone. And I am really, I feel pretty blessed in that our district, the way that we handled it in March, I mean, I remember literally, we had a staff meeting sometime in March, and it was in the morning, and the message was, we might be there might be school closure. And then we had another meeting at 2 o'clock that same day. School is closed. This is our last day. And so it was just that abrupt. And so we had to go home, and we were instructed not to come back to campus. But what they did that I really found, it was crazy at the time, but I really appreciate it now. They went into teaching mode, because there are many educators that are not very proficient on the computer. Mm-hmm. And that was a big challenge. As a matter of fact, there were some teachers who said, I'm out. I am retiring. I was going to retire next year. I'm out because I'm not learning a bunch of things. So for 2 weeks, we were offered courses using different applications and learning how to work Zoom. It was very new to many of us, me included. And it felt overwhelming because it was just so much. But we needed that in order to prepare for what was coming. And even at that point, we didn't know we were going to be 7 months later. We would still be, teaching in this forum. So, however, as an ed specialist, I relate to what both of the other guests have said. It's necessary, for example, to teach our students explicitly what is the expected behavior in this new venue. So we had to do that. What a schedule looks like, because they're now home. One of the most difficult things for me as an educator was to release all of the control that I had as a classroom teacher to my parents. So, the first days I'm seeing Javier hopping over couches, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you don't do that at school. What's going on? And parents who were not really saying, Javier, sit down. So that was quite a challenge. But over time, my focus was building relationships. I work in a population where many of my parents were essential workers. So many of them lost their jobs. Oh. So now all of a sudden we have a parent not working. They've got multiple children. I have a family 3 children, because I am a special ed teacher, 3 of their children are in my classroom. They're sitting next to each other. So I heard my sister here talk about, a workspace for her children. Well, my kids in this family, they don't have a specific workplace. They're sitting one next to each other, 3 kids next to each other. The older sister sitting across the way. So talk about focusing, not happening.
Possible. Yeah.
So there's a lot of challenges. I mean, I recognize that we're doing the best that we can. It is not the best for our kids. How is it affecting them? Our students, they're dealing with trauma. This
Absolutely.
is traumatic for them. Their parents have lost their job. Imagine what the parents are feeling like at home. So it's quite difficult, but we're managing one day at a time. That's all we can do. I think that what helped us in our district, again, is the training. I've had to go way above and beyond, forget about 8 to 3 hours, my shift being 8 to 3, because I'm still learning. I teach my class, and then I go back and I got to learn some more so that how am I going to best meet the needs of the learners in my class? I have students on the autism spectrum. I have students with severe behavioral disorders. I have students with all kinds of learning disabilities. So there's no way I can say turn to page 32 and do problems 1 through 8. I've got to honor their individualized educational plan. So it's quite challenging, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I think the key is establishing those relationships. I needed to let my parents know, look, we're in this together. I don't have all the answers, but can we work together? How are you feeling today? What's going on in your life? How can I help you? That, in my opinion, was the most important thing, even before educating them academically. I need my parents to know you're in a safe place. Your children are in a safe place. I am imposing in your home now. I get to see how you live at home. That's uncomfortable for some parents. So we had to deal with all that. And we are still dealing with all of that.
And that relationship is greatly appreciated. I can say 2 of their teachers will reach out and say, hey, I know you said the best way to reach you is by email because you don't know where you're going to be at the time. So here's an email of the update. What is going on? Is this okay? Is that a genuine conversation of, hey, what's going on? How can I help? Yes. And to be able to respond and say, okay, this is what's going on with my child. This is what is going on with me. I'll be able to do this during this time. Is it possible to get a little more time to do this during these hours? So that I can help my child.
Yes.
You know that
very important. Flexibility is key.
And I would jump in and say that those. I got an echo, right?
Yeah. Keep going.
All right. I would say that one of the things that those relationships building, the parents and the teachers really need to talk a little bit more about those things. That was the hard part in March. It was so new for everybody. It was like, and now that you see the parents talking with the teachers and communicating, you're starting to see the kids are starting to get used to it, and adjusting. And then not only the students are adjusting, but the parents are able to adjust, and the parents can now be of assistance to the teacher. Yes. So the teacher parent conference is a totally different situation now. It's not this is literally an ongoing, it's a fluid situation, and that's what we want. We need to express to parents and teachers and educators, this needs to be fluid, especially because it's not a traditional format anymore. And we don't know when, especially in California, we don't know when we're going to go back to the brick and mortar institutions. Those things may be a relic of the past moving forward.
Well, I can say this on speaking for higher ed, I'm experiencing this with my college students as well. Now, the one thing that we need them to be adults, because they are adults. If you're on a college campus, even if you're still in high school, you're expected to handle things as an adult. And I have several students who have, they don't turn in their work, and what's going on with you? I just buried my sister, and now I'm burying my father, or, there's a lot of death and there's a lot of grief, and many of them don't have the resources. Maybe their internet is very limited, or, no one. I have so many students that say I didn't sign up for this. Well, I didn't sign up for it either. This is something that just happened. It just happened to be that I was already exposed to online learning because I was an online student and I taught online. But it was still challenging for me because those shells are created for me. And all I had to do was teach. And I've always used Canvas, always. But it flipped where I had to create everything from scratch. And I had 2 weeks to do it. And I had 7 or 8 classes and 2 different institutions. And so I had that stress of having my personal life invaded, where when I leave campus, I come home, I'm home. Yes, I have to grade papers. This is the night I grade. But other than that, I don't have students contacting me back and forth. Now, students, there's more of a relationship because they have to contact me, because they have to know what to do. But I also have to tell them, like a job, you have to be organized. You have to have a planner. You have to know when you're going to study for this class, when this is due. And this is what I tell them, especially the beginning of the fall, because those that didn't go to summer school or their first time on a college campus, they are lost. And so what I've done is I teach asynchronously. So I may not be in your face, but I make videos and I upload them to tell you, this is what I expect. This is what you need to do. This is how you're going to get through. If you have an emergency, you have to let me know ahead of time. Don't just not do any work for 2 or 3 weeks and then say this happened, because I'm still holding you accountable, because life is going to hold you accountable. But the one thing I do want to go to, and I know that our audience is really wanting to hear this, the heightened amount of anxiety and depression because of the lack of human contact.
Yes.
Adrienne, what do you think about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, I'm grateful to my district because they realized that they were kind of proactive in that. As an elementary school teacher, we have been begging for counselors at the elementary level. We have high school counselors, and those, and some of them even were let go of a few years ago because of budget cuts and whatever. But we're like, our kids are hurting right now and we need some help. They are really going through some traumatic situations. So we now have counselors on all of our campuses, and in this venue, they have created some help for our parents and our students. They have what they call a virtual calm down room where they can actually go and get some relief. And then, as well as for the parents, they have classes for parents that will help them with anxiety, depression, just help them understand what that looks like and what you can do to alleviate it. So I'm very proud of my district for that. The only challenge is getting more parents to participate in that. Some do, but some don't take advantage of it. And it's unfortunate because they could be getting help. I have personally referred some of my students who I know the symptoms, what looks like it could be depression. I refer them right away because we have the service for them, right? We went, and then I know, research lets us know if a child is in a traumatic state of being, that part of his learning brain is not even on. So you're wasting your time trying to drill some information in, and he's in fight or flight state. So we need to educate our parents and our teachers. I have to tell my parents, please, please back away. He needs some space right now. You're all in his face, and he's having a core meltdown right now. So right now he needs you to back away and let him breathe. And you go breathe, and then we try again later. So we just need some more training, and we need some practical exposure and practice in dealing with children who are dealing with trauma.
Let me ask
That,
you, Topaz,
oh,
as
sorry.
a therapist, what would you add to that?
I would say, and I'm thinking of 3 different points with it. A social cultural competency. There's several different things. There's the stigma of what mental health is, and several cultures not wanting to be involved.
Yes.
You also have the fear, systemically, the fear that, okay, if I invite certain people in my house, who else is that going to invite into my house? Is it going to be DCFS? Are
Mm-hmm.
they going to come in, take my children, and things of that nature? And then the education in general of what mental health is.
Yes.
A lot of people may see mental health as, oh, I'm diagnosed, I'm supposed to be on meds, when in fact, mental health is a range. It is a range of some people saying, hey, I just need to breathe and talk because I got this job I've been dreaming of, and now I'm just, worried that I'm going to fail.
Right.
It could
Mm-hmm.
be, I'm tired, overwhelmed, and I just need to know how to breathe for 10 minutes. I just need to learn how to breathe, period.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
all they need. And so
Yes.
it ranges. And I've had a lot of people within my study for my dissertation. The running theme is, what is mental health?
Mm.
So that education of what mental health is would probably open up a lot more people to say, okay, let me go ahead and stick my little toe in the water just to see how this feels and what this experience is. And I constantly tell them, hey, it's like a pair of shoes. You may try on a pair, it doesn't fit. You're going to keep going until you find a pair of shoes that fit. You might go with one therapist and not necessarily like it. Try the next until you find one that fits you. There's several of them out there. It's just saying, okay, I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and see what this is about. However, it's still, working through that stigma. But I think at this point, I am seeing an uptick because of exactly what you said. Any other situation, majority of the time you have that ability to have that human interaction.
Right.
With this, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Jarvis.
So I say it. So, sorry.
Oh,
I was just going to say that's why I believe that it is so important, the relationship piece, because if my parents feel comfortable enough with me to share some of those things, then I can give them some suggestions. And no, it does not have to mean that you have a therapist. No, there is a range. And so, I'm including in my lessons every single day, we do some social emotional learning. We learn how to count to 10 when we're feeling. How do you know when you're anxious? What does that feel like? We have those conversations, and because I'm in their homes, the parents are hearing that as well. And so I'm saying, practice that at home with your kids when they're feeling kind of antsy, when they feel that their tummy is feeling kind of tickly. We talk about those things, read stories about those things, watching little short videos about what it looks like. We really do have to educate ourselves to get rid of the stigma.
absolutely. Absolutely. Jarvis.
So, man, being an educator at a higher ed level, and in my past, I know I never probably shared this with you, Dr. Sims, but I actually taught first grade and kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I love it. Yes, male and African American.
Yeah, I've been in that classroom. It's an interesting thing. So I can only imagine what that's like right now. And that's where a lot of my help with my clients came from, was like, okay, what would I want my kids to do as a teacher on the other end, right? And like you, Dr. Sims, I taught, on ground at a higher education institution, but I've also taught online. And what I always found with my online students is that they oftentimes were pulled away mentally because they didn't have to worry about the work. Oh, the date's here, boom, passing the paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those are the people that signed up for that online class. Now everybody's in online classes, and it's a completely different situation. Right. So bringing it back to the stigma, again, I'm the Black male in the room, and Black males by far are the least people to use mental health services. And I love what Topaz said as far as the analogy about the shoe, right? Being a pair of shoes. So it's in the spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those things are very, very important to our community. We have a number of reasons to be concerned with anything associated with health, let alone mental health.
Right.
But one of the things I think is great is that they get a chance to see myself, Topaz, as well as Adrian advocating for mental health services and know that there are a number of people out there. So I hope at the end we're allowed to provide some resources for the community,
Absolutely.
because those resources are going to be very important, whether it's somewhere here in Southern California or if they are in New York. There are resources that they're going to need to utilize in order to get this help. Now, as far as a little bit further on the mental health tip, what I want to share, and I'm going to be blunt here, there's no reason to be afraid. I was the first person that would tell you straight up that I don't need to see no psychologist. Well, you're crazy, right? I'm not crazy, whatever. It's because we think of the extremes in everything, right? We don't understand that there are little nuances that build up to the extreme happening, right? That's the part where we're missing in our community. It's when you didn't take care of that anxiety or that panic attack that you had, and how that builds up and it becomes to make things worse, right? And so the trauma that Adrian spoke about and Topaz backed up that's happening to our kids right now, those are just little stepping stones to a bigger problem later. So,
Yes.
a colleague and I were just talking about this like a day or two ago. It's like COVID, or as you say, Dr. Sims, Rona, is actually 100% a natural disaster. If a hurricane hit Miami or New Orleans, resources would come in to talk to them about the mental health services of losing your home or losing your pet or losing a loved one. But where are the mental health resources? Where are they going in right now with parents having to deal with this? Maybe you didn't lose anybody, but wait a minute, being stuck at home in a communal, human beings, the human species is a communal species. There's no questions about this. Any species like ours, and the most comparative one is apes, right? You never see a gorilla just standing alone. You don't. They move along in packs, in whatever. You look at a communal species happens. There's very few species that don't commune together. Even whales commune together. So like you have to keep in mind, it's like there's something about being around each other and then being pulled apart. Now, this is a unique format that we're in right now, Zoom. We're able to commune. We're able to be
Mm-hmm.
community right now. We may not be able to touch, but I know I've done it. I was like, I called my line brother. I was like, bro, I need to see somebody, dude. I'm down here in Florida. He was like, I didn't even know you were in Florida. I'm like, yo, I need to touch a human. And he was like, what's up? And then we met up and we hugged and we whatever. It's not that we should be afraid of the fears of what COVID could do, but we also need to know when we need that touch, right? We need to just be around another human being for an hour or two so that we can actually relieve that. And thus, where mental health comes in. Maybe you can't recognize it, but the therapist can say, hey, you probably need to just go hang out with your family for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, that may bring you back balance. It's really such a simple thing. You wouldn't, if you broke your hand, you wouldn't sit at home and be like, "Ooh, it'll heal."
Hmm.
You would go to the hospital and get that hand wrapped and get a cast put on your hand.
That's
Well,
right.
if you have a panic attack, that's akin to breaking your hand. You probably need to go speak to someone so you can get it wrapped up and you can move on and realize that it's healed and it's okay.
That's
That is absolutely correct. And another thing, we are communal. And so this cabin fever of we were confined to our home, everything was shut down. Now, me personally, I'm a type A personality. I am a earth mother. I'm a flower child. I'm a free spirit. For me to have to be stuck was very, very difficult for me, very difficult for me. And people are working on their homes now, and we're gardening and we're doing all these things, and we're walking in the neighborhood. And I will tell you the one thing that the virus has done. I believe the virus has helped us understand what matters most.
There it
And
is.
Mm,
that's our families. That matters most. We're so busy trying to keep, I want to move up in my career and do this and do that. And you're spending 60, 70 hours a week away. You're spending 20 hours on the freeway. And what's happening is you're used to this life and you really have more freedom than you believe. And now you don't have it. And now you really find out you don't know your children because you're not
Mm.
around them that much. You really
mhm,
don't know your spouse because you're not around them that much. So now people are doing this. What I started doing is, my parents are in their mid 80s. I just put on a mask. I drive down to see them, put on a mask, and we sit out on the porch. And you don't know how hard it is for me to not hug my father and my mother because I don't know, because you can be COVID free and you can go to the store and have it and don't know it. It's
mhm,
Right.
hard to be around friends. So it even got to the point where I would go to the park and meet two friends at the park, and we'd be on different ends of the park bench just to be able to see each other. But my college students are really, it's like you're home now. The problem with being home is you're home, you relax, it's home. I'll do it later. Well, I'll turn it in later. Oh, I don't feel like it. Our sleep patterns are off. And when
mhm,
it comes to mental health, another thing is we think that if we go and see a therapist or a coach, because I also, Jarvis and I are both coaches, I'm a holistic life coach. We think that if they feel that we have a DSM-5 diagnosis, automatically I'm going to get on this medication. Well, there's a lot of people that, of course, in our community, Tuskegee experiment, they're talking about, they wanted to have us do the vaccine first.
Right.
Not. And so we think that we're going to
Definitely
be
not.
medicated, and we don't realize that there are holistic ways to help regulate your body. There are herbs and supplements that you can take. There's meditation, there's yoga, there's ways that you can help calm yourself. But then we have another thing that's really happening, and I have to date, I have 10 people that are no longer here. There's a lot, people are losing family members. There's a couple of reasons. One is in my age group, our aunties and uncles are now really, really, they're close to 190 years old and they are passing. On the other end, you've got people passing from COVID and you've got people passing from other reasons. Jarvis, what can you say to people who are trying to maintain their family, students trying to maintain their schoolwork and grieving at the same time?
Oh,
You know, grief is difficult. And so, Dr. Sims, you're aware, Topaz, I know you're aware as well. Personally, I've been going through some stuff. And as far as the hospital, right? Medical care, uh, even if your family member does not have COVID, the restrictions still apply.
Yes.
If your family member ends up into the hospital, you will not be able to visit them. And they won't be able to get any visitors at all. And so what I would say to people is uh, grief should clearly be something that you should realize that there are 5 stages of it, and you need to
Right.
be aware of those stages. Uh, Google's your friend. You don't need to hear from me or Topaz. I'm trying to keep it short, so whatever. But you can Google the 5 stages of grief and see where you are in those. I want to piggyback off of something you said, Dr. Sims, earlier about like holistic mental health and life coaching, right? Um, Depression, which has been a key thing that we've been talking about. Talk therapy works for depression. You don't need medication for
It really
depression.
does.
It's like talk therapy it's got like a 90%, effective rate. Only about 10% of people who are depressed are on medication. And oftentimes, you know, most psychiatrists who are going to prescribe are going to say, well, you need to be seeing a mental health therapist at the same time, so the person can monitor you while you're on the medication. So because talk therapy works. And so I think that's where we want to do, is dispel the myths. And then grief oftentimes leads to depression. So there's the connecting the dots piece, right? So you want to, if you're going through something, if you lost a family member, if you lost a pet, I mean, during this time, whatever's happened to you, or is happening around you, keep that in mind. I don't want people to say, oh, he's just advocating because he's a mental health therapist. No, I'm advocating because I'm actually going through it now. I have a family member, my mother, who is actually right now in a skilled nursing environment, and I can't see her. If I wanted to see her, the best I can do is ask them to bring her to a window and see my mom through a plate glass window. And that's the best that I can do. Um, you know, so there's grief associated with that. If something was to happen to my mom, I'm going to immediately need, having a visceral reaction. Well, the best thing that I can say that I'm doing is I'm talking to someone about my grief, my issues, and it's helping me be effective in my job, in my day to day, right? I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't getting the help that I needed, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to maintain and be able to be focused. And I think I'm advocating for this is because I know I can't be the only one. I mean, with Corona alone, we have over 200 or approaching 230,000 people who have died.
Yes.
And we're not talking about the millions of other people that are still in the hospital or are suffering through it, and you can't see them. You may not even know. I thought about it the other day. I was like, man, I haven't heard from this person in so long. I don't know. He never responded. He could literally be in the hospital right now, and you would not know because he can't call you and you can't call him because he's on a respirator, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's where grief goes. So there's so many things we need to think about with this new environment, how we're going to focus on it. And just Google's your friend. There are apps now, Calm, CALM, Insight. Yeah, there are so many different things that you can do for mindfulness that
Yes.
will help you in this time. Even if you're still like, I don't want to see anybody, there are things that you can do discreetly that only you would be able to know about. And every mental health therapist has to agree to be confidential. So it's still discreet, even though you don't think it's discreet, it's still discreet. There's confidentiality. There's, the thing that I don't know what to call him, so I'm not gonna call him nothing. But he used it when he got COVID. Y'all know who I'm talking about, the orange guy.
Okay.
And his doctor came out and talked about HIPAA. I can't tell you because of HIPAA. Well, HIPAA applies to everybody. Like, I can't tell nobody anything about you because HIPAA applies.
Yes.
Right? So you don't have to worry about who's going to know anything about you, or me identifying what's going on outside of me, you doing something to harm a kid or a senior. um, you got
Or
confidentiality,
yourself.
or
Or
yourself,
yourself.
or for yourself, definitely yourself. Then that's the only time a person would actually be like, okay, I got to talk to somebody because you just said some things. But if it's like, hey man, I'm just having a hard time waking up in the morning. Oh, okay, let's talk about that. Nobody will never know that you had a hard time waking up in the morning, right? Or my mom just passed away, and I have all this anxiety and grief, and I don't know what to do. Like, talk to someone. It's nothing
Yes.
wrong. There's nothing to be afraid about. And with this whole thing with Corona, with school, like, look, I don't have any hair, but I know I would be pulling my hair out if I had kids like Topaz. Like, I can't imagine what are you doing? Like I don't know. When I look at my parents, I'm just like, you guys are amazing. The fact that you're able to maintain a job and take care of your kid, and they're being fairly successful at this, you have no clue. Now maybe you need to just talk to someone to make sure you're balanced. And I love the virtual calm room that y'all have, Adrian. Those things, they sound like dog whistles to me as a therapist. It's like someone's getting it right. Someone
Yeah.
within your school district is getting it right and realizing there's something that was not on, that were needed for not only the students but for the
Mhm.
parents. And I just hope, Adrian, and you can tell us if this is true or not. I hope that they're doing something like that for you all as teachers and educators as well, because they may be missing that little loophole, because you all are like dealing with all these stressors too, and they may be missing that. And if they
That's
are,
very strong.
if they are, I would suggest to your colleagues and to you to definitely seek out assistance.
Yeah. Well, I
Now,
will say this, I will say
Adrian,
this, if I may. They have made it available to us. The nature of our job, and I would say probably for all of us, we are nurturers, we take care of other people, and we put ourselves last. What I am trying to do, and I speak loud and clear as a district representative and a a site leader on my campus, I really work hard to advocate for that. But naturally, we do not do it. I'm just gonna be honest. We got this to do, this to do, this, and then then you look up and you're like, oh my God, I am overwhelmed. What
Mhm.
I can't do this anymore. So I am really trying to be proactive in using they have a calm room for adults. Like I said, it's an awesome place. It's in a room, and you just click on a variety of things. If you like to hear the ocean, for example, you click on that, you hear the ocean. You like listening to music, you click on that. If you're a tactile person, you can put something, click on something else, and then there's a button that shows you a variety of tactile. So it's available, but are we using it? Not like we should be. And, that's just the reality of it. Other thing that I want to address. I'm so grateful for people like my sister Topaz, who is a parent who is doing it right, and she probably has the know-how to do that. She's doing the schedules. She's doing the check-ins. I see, unfortunately, the great divide, the disparity
Mm.
among our people and people of color growing and growing because many of our parents do not have that innately. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's not what I want. For whatever reason, their job, their situation, their lack of knowledge, whatever, they're not doing those things. And so those kids are the ones that I am most advocating for. And I teach grades, kindergarten right now, kindergarten through fifth grade. I have some, unfortunately, who are left alone. Now, and mind you, I teach special ed. So all of my kids need extra support. They need somebody by their side And that is the thing that grieves me the most as an education specialist, knowing when they're with me, under my wing, in my room, they're gonna get that support. All of them are not getting that. So the divide is getting wider and wider, not because it's not available to them, but for whatever reason, parents are overwhelmed, parents are working, parents are looking for work, parents are depressed, can't deal with it, whatever. There's a child sitting in front of a computer needing assistance that I can't give. Sometimes that's what it feels like to me. I mean, I do my best, but there's that child needs my hand over his hand, touching a key to get out a nap. And he doesn't have it. So I'm grateful for parents like my sister Topaz who are doing that. Many parents are doing that, but all parents are not. We have some students, especially I teach at a K-8 school. So at the intermediate school level, some of those kids are on their own. So they log in for 10 minutes and then they're log off. They're not getting any education for that day. So that, again, that divide is getting wider. And what are we gonna do even when we come back to school? It's gonna be quite interesting. And we're on a path, like right now we're on path 1, which is total distant learning. The next step is hybrid, where they're here for 2 days and they're home for 2 days, and and they're working when they're home. They're working asynchronously. So it's like, and so when we assign that, are they doing it? Some are, some aren't. So again, the divide. I'm very concerned about that.
It's the same thing in higher ed. I mean, some people are doing their work, some aren't. It's almost like they'll wait till something's due and then the date is passed and now they're doing it. It's all across the board. And the one thing that we have to keep in mind, they're saying, okay, you guys, we're going to go back hybrid, or we're going to go back. Guess what? We're getting ready to enter flu season. And when we enter flu season, then we've got COVID and flu. And so for my campuses, we're not coming back till the summer, as if we can come back in the summer. So we have all of this. And the one thing I want to say to the audience is, this is not a scripted conversation. Harrell Kagler Presents is not scripted. We keep it real. This is a real conversation, real people talking about real issues. And so to conclude this, I do want to do one thing. I want each of us to plead to our community, whatever you feel we need to know, and provide any resources that you have. Now, you can get resources. You can go to hkinterventions.org and reach Jarvis Sams. You can reach Topaz Good if you want. You know, we have telehealth now. So you don't have to leave your house to go get mental health care. You can go on, it's called telehealth, telemed. There's different ways to do it, but we want you to get the help. There's nothing wrong with getting the help for yourself as well as for your child, because trust me, whatever you are from 0 to 5, that's Piaget, 0 to 5, your personality is being formed. And from 5 to 12, it's being formed and influenced by outside issues and environments. And if you see a change in your child, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. If you see a change in yourself, if you're overwhelmed, if you feel like pulling your hair out, please see a therapist. So I'm going to start with Topaz, and I'm going to go counterclockwise. What, towards our conclusion, if you had to plead with our community, what would you ask of them, or what would you tell them?
I would say exactly what you said. If you are noticing something, I myself am a big proponent of mindfulness.
Yes.
So if you're noticing anything physically, mentally, anything, because we do have so much going on right now with the learning, the COVID, the elections, the uncertainty. And that big uncertainty is weighing so heavy on so many of where that next bill is going to get, how that next bill is going to be paid. How am I going to teach my children? Am I going to be employed? There are so many things. Be mindful of what you're feeling and what you're thinking so that you do know or can know how to reach out for help. That help can be, as you said, through any of us. It could be 211. It could be whoever your medical provider is. It is okay to seek out help. And that help can come in many forms. It can be mental health. It can be physical health. It can be referrals to things that you may need as far as food banks, clothes, all of that. Reach out, because majority of the time, everyone's networking.
Yes.
So everyone, majority of the time, knows somebody if there is something that's coming to your mind or on your heart that you need help with. You're not alone. We've all been there. We might not openly say that we've been through certain things, but we've been through a lot of things. And we do know, as I like to say, if I don't know it myself, I know somebody who does.
Mhm.
So
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's good.
Jarvis.
Oh, that's right. You did say counterclockwise. Okay. That's interesting. My fault. So resources. One, I piggyback off everything Topaz said. So I want to just give some resources real quick. Thank you for the shout out, Dr. Sims, that they can go to your website or our website, Harrell Kagler, and find myself or Topaz. But also another place where resources that you may be able to utilize are is therapyforblackmen.org and therapyforblackgirls.org. If you want to find a therapist, they have a link. You click on there and it'll take you to a therapist. And for men, the Therapy for Black Men, it'll be a mixture for both. It's a mixture of men and women on both sites that are therapists that will provide it. And oftentimes those therapists look like you. They're Black people. If you really want to know that it's a Black person and you want it to come from an Afrocentric perspective, then go to the Association of Black Psychologists webpage, ABPSI. It's a webpage, abpsi.org, so abpsi.org. And they have a find a therapist page there, and that's national. So you can click on your state and it'll tell you the therapists that are in your state and in your community right there. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can look me up also, not only through Harrell Kagler, but you can go to Psychology Today and click on Find a Therapist and type in my name, Jarvis, first name Jarvis, last name Sams, Sams, and I will pop up there, and then you can either email me or call me, and we'll provide the services. More often than not, the consultations are just $25. It's nothing extravagant, and I work on a sliding scale fee. So, you don't have to worry about being, taxed too much if you don't have the resources during this time. We're working to try to provide you with the services to make sure that you and your family are taken care of. And yeah, that would be that. And definitely seek help. You seek help.
Thank you. Thank you. Adrienne.
Yes, I would say if I were talking to the audience regarding the educational piece and how it relates to all of this, I would say teachers and parents, first of all, give yourself grace. I've had to learn that. I'm used to being very, very on target and have everything together. And you know what? That's not happening right now. Some days I don't have everything together. And guess what? It's okay. So we need to give ourselves grace, understanding that we're in a new situation. We've never experienced this before. So we're learning how to get through it. And so just take it one day at a time. And then I would say it's very important to keep talking. You have questions, ask questions, and just continue to do that. Because again, we are building as we go along. Keep those relationships open. Make sure you have somebody who you can connect with when you're feeling like I cannot hang another second. There's got to be somebody in your life that you can do that with. And if there's not, these resources are excellent. Connect with one of those or two of those, and continue to look until there's a fit that fits you. Just like Sister Torpa said, there's so many resources available. So, but we got to do the work and look for it. Okay, that's what I would say.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, our time is up here on the first episode of Harrell Kagler Presents. I want to definitely give love and gratitude and thanks for my esteemed guests, Topaz Good, Jarvis Sams, Adrian Clay. You know, we are about that life. We are about, you know, empowerment, education, health, financial literacy. So I'll tell you this, if you need any resources or you want to reach any one of my fine guests, hkinterventions.org. All you have to do is Google it, send us a message, and we will definitely connect you, if not with one of them, with someone else. Maybe you're at a particular school district, especially in the Southern California area. I want you to know that there are other therapists coming. There are mental health and wellness clinics coming. They are coming. Trust me, I know this for a fact. So, you know, again, I want us to remember, forever forwards, never backwards.
Yes.
Hotep, shalom, and peace, family.
Peace.
All right.